Next up is looping through objects. All right, so as we saw in the performance iteration video, there were some interesting things that came out of that. I was kind of surprised by one of them. You can look at it, and I'm pretty sure that it has the same, will have the same output as here. So you should be using the for let I thingy, but we can't really do that in this situation because there's none of these have a number. So we can't say let I is greater than or less than or whatever, right? We can't do that. So we're going to iterate through the crew object in the code editor and console.log a list of crew roles and names in the following format: members role, members name. So the way I would do this, we're going to look at we've got the crew, and I'm going to indent this because it's kind of confusing. I'm going to do, okay, this kind of sucks. I'm going to do this, and then indent this entire thing. Okay. Honestly, you should do, oh my gosh, this indentation sucks. Come on, Code Academy, fix this. This sucks. This really sucks. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a thing called object.entries. So I'm going to say for let key, comma, value. Oh, we haven't learned that yet. We haven't learned, what is it called? Deconstruction yet. So I'm not going to do that. For let key in spaceship dot crew, and I'm going to use object dot keys spaceship dot crew console dot log. We're going to log first the key, the role name, and then the spaceship dot crew key. So if I run this, I've got undefined. Why is that undefined? 0, 1, 2. Oh, because that turns it into an array. That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. So I'm not going to use object.keys. I'm just going to do that. And that's an object. Object.crew, key.name. That's right. There we go. For in, and this is using for in, iterate through ship crew, object code, console.log, and the list of degrees in the following format. So crew number's name, crew member's degree. So instead of key, I'm just going to go to this key, and then this is spaceship.crew key.degree. There we go. So now I have iterated through that object and seen the different things in there. So you can see Lily, computer engineering, Dan, yada, yada, yada. So that's how I would do that. And there are a couple different ways to do that. If you're doing really large objects, I would take a look at my performance video where I'm comparing different iterators. And you may consider using one of the higher performance things. But in such a small thing like this, there is not a big enough difference between basically any of them for you to choose and for you to be able to see a difference. But when you start getting to the hundreds of thousands to millions of different entries, that's where you're going to start seeing a difference between the different types of iteration, and you need to start optimizing. So you should have optimized code in that situation. So objects, you have learned objects. You've got properties, you got methods, you got nested objects. You learned about references, and you learned about basically how all of this crap works. So notice how it says objects are mutable even when they're declared with const. This is the same thing with arrays. And so you can assign different properties or assign different entries in the array, even if it's a const. Const does not mean immutable. It means not assignable. If you want something to be immutable, you use object.freeze. So if I'm gonna say let spaceship, and I would put this entire thing in an object.freeze. And what this method does is prevents the modification of existing property attributes and values and prevents the addition of new properties. So this will turn the entire spaceship object into an immutable object. You can still read them, but if you try to change something like delete spaceship.crew, it should throw an error. Or like spaceship.crew equals undefined console.log spaceship. Maybe this won't work because we're in a weird sandbox. Oh, it just didn't work. Yeah, it didn't even work. I'm pretty sure it throws an error in Node.js and in front end code. But yeah, basically, object.freeze is how you create immutable references to things. So yeah, that's not how you do it. You don't use const to create a mutex, or sorry, not a mutex, an immutable object. Consts are only non-reassignable. Although it's kind of frustrating because you can say const a equals hi, and then hello world, and then you can run it again. Like you can actually run const this multiple times in the terminal, but you can't do it inside of a file. It won't compile. It won't run. But anyway, objects. You have learned objects. And I think that concludes all of JavaScript, the introduction to JavaScript. Oh no, we have advanced objects. All right, I'll see you in that video.